The hospital changed at night. During the day, it was loud, busy, and full of voices. At night, it became slow and careful, like it was holding its breath. Lights were dimmed. Machines beeped softly. Footsteps echoed longer in the halls. Most of the city outside was asleep, but inside these walls, life kept moving in quiet ways. The night nurse arrived just before her shift began. She walked in the same way she always did, steady and unhurried. Her uniform was clean and plain. Her hair was tied back neatly. Nothing about her stood out. If someone passed her in the hallway, they would not look twice. She blended in, and that was exactly how she liked it. She had worked nights for years. Some nurses avoided night shifts, but she preferred them. Nights were calmer. Fewer people asked questions. Fewer managers watched every move. At night, skill mattered more than small talk. Patients needed care, not conversation. She understood that. She signed in, checked the assignment board, and scanned the list of rooms. She memorized it quickly. Her eyes moved fast, but her face stayed relaxed. Another nurse joked about needing coffee already. Someone else complained about a long night ahead. The night nurse smiled politely, said little, and listened more than she spoke. Those who worked with her often said she was dependable. She never panicked. She never rushed, but she was never late either. When alarms went off, she was already moving before others stood up. When things went wrong, she didn't raise her voice. She lowered it. That alone made people feel safer. No one knew much about her life outside the hospital. She did not share stories about family or weekends. She did not talk about the past. When asked, she gave short answers that closed the door gently, without offense. People stopped asking after a while. She checked her supplies the same way every night. Gloves, bandages, medications, equipment. Everything had a place. If something was missing, she noticed right away. She adjusted small things others ignored, like the angle of a chair or a cart blocking part of the hallway. To her, clear paths mattered. As the shift settled in, the hospital grew quieter. Visitors left. Phones rang less. The night belonged to the nurses now. Patients slept or tried to. Some stared at the ceiling. Some whispered prayers. Some waited for pain to ease. The night nurse moved from room to room, checking vitals, adjusting blankets, offering water, listening. She listened more than she spoke. People told her things in the dark they did not say during the day. Fears came out at night. Regrets. Worries. She listened without judgment. She never rushed them. But she always stayed aware of the space around her, even while listening. Other staff noticed small things about her, though they never questioned them. She always stood where she could see the door. She positioned herself so her back was never fully turned. When she walked down a hallway, her eyes scanned ahead, then behind, then to the sides, like it was second nature. If a loud sound echoed, she reacted instantly, then relaxed just as fast when she understood it. A drop tray, a slammed door, a sudden shout. Her response was quick, controlled, and silent. No gasp, no jump, just readiness. To most people, she was just another night nurse doing her job. Hospitals were full of people like that. Quiet workers, invisible workers. The kind that kept things running while others slept. Near midnight, the ward settled into its deepest calm. The lights were lower now. Machines hummed softly. The air felt heavy with tiredness. A janitor pushed a cart down the hall. Somewhere far away, an elevator dinged. The night nurse paused at the nurse's station and reviewed patient charts. Her focus was complete. She absorbed details quickly and stored them away. She knew which patients were restless, which ones might wake suddenly, which ones needed closer watching. Another nurse asked if she ever got scared working nights. The question came casually, almost joking. She looked up and gave a small smile. No, she said simply. It was not said bravely. It was said honestly. As the night went on, something felt slightly off, though no one could name it. It was subtle, a change in the air, the kind most people would ignore. The night nurse noticed it, but she did not react outwardly. She kept moving, kept working. She checked the nearest exits as she passed them, a habit so natural she barely noticed she was doing it. She noted which doors were locked and which were not. She adjusted her route, without thinking about why. In one room, a patient asked if everything was okay. The nurse adjusted the blanket and nodded. "You're safe," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. The patient relaxed. The hospital continued its slow rhythm. No alarms, no emergencies. Just another night like so many before. If anyone had looked closely, they might have noticed that the night nurse was not relaxed in the same way others were. She was calm but alert, rested but ready, like someone who knew that quiet moments could change without warning. But no one looked closely. They never do. To the hospital, she was just part of the background. Another uniform moving through dim hallways. Another quiet presence under fluorescent lights. No one knew what she had been trained to do. No one knew what she was capable of. And at that moment, no one knew how much that quiet night was about to matter. The first sign that something was wrong did not come with noise. It came with silence. A strange pause in the normal sound of the hospital. The soft beeping of machines continued, but something else seemed missing. The night nurse felt it before she understood it. Her steps slowed just a little. At the far end of the hallway, the automatic doors that led in from the emergency entrance slid open. No announcement followed. No one called out. The doors closed again, quietly, like they always did. Most people would not have noticed. The night nurse did. She did not turn her head right away. She kept walking, pushing a small cart, her hands steady, but her hearing sharpened. Her eyes caught reflections in the glass of framed notices along the wall. Shapes, movement, someone walking with purpose, not confusion. A man stepped fully into the hallway. He was not dressed like a patient or visitor. His clothes were dark and heavy. His posture was stiff. One hand stayed close to his side, hidden from view. He looked around, not with curiosity, but with focus. The night nurse stopped at the nurse's station and set the cart down slowly. Her face did not change. Her heart rate did not spike. She had learned long ago how to keep control of that. Another nurse was typing at a computer. Two others were talking softly nearby. None of them noticed the man yet. The night nurse cleared her throat gently. "Can you cover for me a moment?" she asked, her voice calm and ordinary. The other nurse nodded, without looking up. The night nurse walked away from the station, not toward the man, but sideways, putting a wall between them. She moved toward the patient rooms, where doors could be closed, where people could be kept out of sight. Behind her, someone finally noticed. "Who is that?" a voice whispered. The man took a few more steps into the ward. The overhead lights reflected off something metal in his hand. Not fully visible yet, but enough. A wave of fear rolled through the hallway. It was quiet at first, like people were unsure what they were seeing. Then someone gasped. Someone else backed away too fast and bumped into a chair. The night nurse turned just enough to confirm what she already knew. The object in the man's hand was a weapon. She did not freeze. She did not shout. She moved. She stepped into the nearest patient room and closed the door softly behind her. Inside, an older patient lay awake, eyes wide. Another patient in the room stirred, confused. "It's okay," the nurse said quietly. "We're going to stay calm." She locked the door and dimmed the lights. She guided the beds away from the doorway just enough to reduce visibility. Her movements were smooth and confident, like she had done this before, though no one there knew that. Outside, voices rose. Someone cried. Someone yelled for security. The night nurse stepped back into the hallway only after making sure the patients were hidden. She moved quickly now, but still without panic. She knocked on doors as she passed, using a soft but firm rhythm. "Stay inside." Lock the door. "Turn off the lights," she said over and over. "Stay quiet." People listened. Something in her tone made them listen. The man in the hallway raised his voice. He was angry. His words were sharp and unclear. He waved a weapon as he spoke, pointing it at the floor, then the walls. The sound echoed down the ward. The night nurse stayed out of his direct line of sight. She used corners, carts, and open doorways for cover. She kept track of where he was without staring at him. She counted his steps. She noted how he moved, how he held the weapon. Security had not arrived yet. Someone called emergency services. Someone else hid behind the desk. The hospital felt suddenly small, like there was nowhere far enough away. The night nurse reached the far end of the ward and quietly closed a fire door, sealing off a section. She did it smoothly without slamming it shut. The click of the lock sounded louder than she liked, but it held. She turned and scanned the area again. No patients were left exposed. No staff were wandering in shock. That mattered. The man continued shouting. His anger filled the space, but his movements were uneven. He was distracted, emotional, dangerous, but not focused. The night nurse used that. She approached another staff member who was shaking badly. "Breathe," she said softly. "Slow breaths. Follow me." She guided the staff member into the supply room and locked the door. She spoke calmly until the shaking slowed. All around her, fear was spreading, but where she moved, fear softened. A loud bang echoed suddenly. Not close, but close enough to make people scream. The night nurse dropped instantly, pressing herself against the wall, then rose just as fast when she understood where the sound came from. She stayed aware of angles, distance, and cover. She knew help was coming, but she also knew that time stretched differently in moments like this. Seconds felt long. Mistakes happen when people rushed. She chose patience. She positioned herself near a corner that gave her a view of the hallway, without exposing her body. From there, she watched, listened. The man paced. He argued with someone on the phone. His attention moved away from the patient rooms, away from the people she had secured. She stayed still. Other nurses whispered her name, asking what to do. She answered quietly, clearly, giving simple instructions. Lock doors. Stay low. Stay quiet. They obeyed. The hospital, once calm, was now frozen in fear. But within that fear, small pockets of order existed. They existed because of her. She did not think of herself as brave. She thought of herself as responsible. The night stretched on, thick and heavy. Somewhere in the distance, faint sirens could be heard growing closer. The night nurse took one slow breath and prepared herself for what might come next. She had not told anyone who she really was, but her training was awake now, and the night was no longer quiet. Time moved strangely after the sirens began. They were faint at first, like a memory of sound, then slowly grew louder. The night nurse did not let the sound comfort her. She knew better. Help coming did not mean danger was gone. She stayed where she was, close to the corner, her body relaxed but ready. She felt the floor through her shoes, every small vibration. She listened to the man's voice echo through the hallway. It rose and fell, angry one moment, pleading the next. His emotions were loose and sharp at the same time. That made him unpredictable. She watched how he moved when he walked. His steps were heavy. He shifted his weight too much. He kept checking behind him. Fear lived inside him, even if he tried to hide it with shouting. She had seen this before. Not here, not in a hospital, but the signs were the same. A nurse nearby whispered her question again. "What do we do?" The night nurse did not answer right away. She waited for the right moment, then spoke softly. "Stay where you are. Don't move unless I say." Her voice was steady. It did not shake. That steadiness moved the others like a quiet signal. They stopped whispering. They waited. She shifted her position slightly, placing herself closer to a supply cart. The metal frame could offer some protection, if needed. She kept her hands empty and visible, even though no one was looking directly at her. The man stopped pacing. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then he shouted again, louder this time. He demanded to see someone. He demanded answers. His words blurred together, full of anger and pain. The night nurse listened closely, not just to the words, but to the space between them. She waited for breaths, for pauses, for moments when his attention drifted. She moved during one of those pauses. Slowly, carefully, she stepped backward, putting more distance between him and the patient rooms. She guided herself along the wall, staying low, staying quiet. Inside one room, a patient began to cry. The sound was soft but dangerous. The night nurse turned instantly and crossed a short distance to the door. She knocked once, gently. "It's okay," she whispered through the door. "You're not alone. Please stay quiet." The crying stopped. She returned to her position without rushing. No wasted movement. Every step had a reason. Another staff member froze in the open, unsure where to go. The night nurse caught their eye and made a small hand motion. Down. Now. They understood. They moved. She did not think about how strange this must look to others. She did not think about questions. Her mind was focused on one thing only: keeping people alive. The man lifted the weapon again, pointing it toward the ceiling as he shouted. His arm shook slightly. The night nurse noticed that too. She counted the seconds between his movements. She measured distance with her eyes. She noticed where the lights were brightest and where shadows had movement. Her breathing stayed slow. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Calm creates clarity. Panic destroys it. A memory surfaced uninvited. Not an image, but a feeling. Long nights. Heavy gear. Silence broken by sudden noise. The need to decide fast and live with the choice. She pushed the memory away. This was not the past. This was now. A loud voice echoed from somewhere beyond the ward. Security, maybe, or police calling out instructions. The words were distant and unclear. The man turned toward the sound. That was a shift. The night nurse felt it in her body before her mind named it. Attention moved. Focus broke. Opportunity appeared. She did not rush toward him. She did not charge. That would be foolish. Instead, she moved people. She motioned the two nurses behind the desk, guiding them toward a side hallway. She waited until they were safely out of view before moving again. She reached the nurse's station and quietly pulled down a heavy metal screen, blocking the open space. It created a barrier, not perfect, but better than nothing. The man shouted again, now louder, now panicked. He stepped closer to the center of the ward. The night nurse positioned herself where she could see him clearly without being fully seen. She lowered her center of gravity and steadied herself. Her hands were empty. Her posture was open, not threatening. She spoke for the first time directly to him. "You don't want to hurt anyone," she said. Her voice carried, calm and firm. Not loud, not weak. The man turned toward her voice. His eyes were wild. He saw her uniform. A nurse, not a threat. "Stay back," he shouted. "I am staying back," she replied. "I'm listening." He hesitated. Just a second. But that second mattered. She kept talking, slow and clear. She did not argue. She did not judge. She let him speak. She nodded when he talked, showing she heard him. All the while, she watched his hands, his stance, his breathing. She shifted slightly, guiding his attention away from the patient rooms and toward her instead. If he focused on her, others were safer. She knew the risk. The sirens outside grew louder. Doors slammed somewhere far away. Voices echoed. The man's grip tightened. His fear spiked. The night nurse adjusted her tone. Softer now. Slower. "You're not alone," she said. "Help is coming. You can put it down." He looked at her, really looked, as if seeing her for the first time. Something in her calm unsettled him. She had been trained for moments like this. Not with words written in a book, but with repetition, with pressure, with consequences. She stayed still. She stayed present. The hallway felt smaller. The air felt heavy. Everyone waited. The night nurse did not know how this would end. She only knew what needed to happen next, and she was ready to act. The hallway felt like it was holding its breath. Every sound seemed louder now. The hum of the lights, the distant sirens. Even the man's breathing carried through the space. The night nurse stood still, her feet planted, her shoulders relaxed. She did not rush the moment. Rushing would break it. The man shifted his weight again. His hand tightened around the weapon. His eyes moved past her, toward the rooms, toward places filled with people he could not see. She spoke before fear could take him further. "Look at me," she said gently. He hesitated, then did. His eyes met hers. They were tired, red, lost. "You don't need to do this," she said. "You came here for a reason. Let's slow this down." Her words were simple. No long sentences. No commands. Just space. The man swallowed. His breathing was fast. "I can't," he said. His voice cracked. Yes, you can, she replied. Right now you're doing it. He looked confused. That confusion was important. It meant his focus had shifted. He was listening. The night nurse took one small step to the side, changing the angle between them. Not closer, not farther, just enough to keep him adjusting. Behind her, she heard a soft sound. A door closing. Someone following her instructions. That mattered. She kept her hands open and low. She did not point. She did not raise her voice. I'm here with you, she said. No one is rushing you. The man shook his head. They don't listen. I am listening, she said. The words landed. For a moment, the hallway felt quieter. Even the sirens outside seemed farther away. The man's arm dropped slightly. Not enough, but a little. The night nurse noticed every change. She did not celebrate it. She stayed steady. She continued speaking, slowly, guiding his attention away from anger and toward control. She asked simple questions. Not why, not how, just now. Can you take a breath with me? He laughed once, sharp and bitter. But then he breathed. She breathed too, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Again, his shoulders lowered a fraction. That was when the sound came from the far end of the ward. A firm voice calling out instructions. Law enforcement was closer now. The man stiffened. Panic flared again. No, he said. They'll hurt me. They won't if you keep listening. The night nurse said. I won't let anyone rush you. She could not promise that. But she said it anyway, because he needed to hear it. The man took a step back. His foot hit a chair leg. The chair scraped loudly across the floor. The sound broke the fragile calm. The man's grip tightened again. The night nurse reacted instantly. Stop, she said, louder now but still controlled. Stay right there. Her voice cut through the noise. It carried authority, not fear. He froze. In that moment, everything aligned. Distance, angle, timing. The night nurse moved. Her motion was fast but precise. She closed the space just enough to disrupt his balance, using his panic against him. She did not strike wildly. She did not lose control. Her movements were clean, practiced, and efficient. The weapon hit the floor and slid away. The man stumbled and went down, more from surprise and force. She stayed on him just long enough to keep him from rising, using her body weight carefully, controlling his arms without unnecessary harm. Stay down, she said firmly. It's over. Her voice did not shake. Footsteps thundered into the ward. Multiple voices shouted commands. Bright lights flooded the hallway. The night nurse immediately released her hold and stepped back, raising her hands. She moved away from the man, creating clear space. Law enforcement took over within seconds, securing the man and the area. The hallway filled with sound again. Radios, boots, orders being repeated. The night nurse leaned against the wall for a moment, not from weakness, but from release. The tension drained from her body slowly. A staff member rushed toward her. Are you okay? She nodded. Check the patients. She said, they'll be scared. Even now, that was her focus. Officers approached her next. One looked at her closely, eyes narrowing slightly. Who are you? He asked. A nurse, she replied. He studied her for a moment longer, then nodded. He seemed to understand there was more, but he did not push. Patients were checked. Doors opened carefully. People cried, hugged, shook. The night nurse moved through it all quietly, offering water, steady words, a hand on a shoulder. She did not seek attention. She did not explain what she had done. Whispers followed her. Did you see that? How did she do that? She was so calm. She ignored them. When the ward finally settled, the night felt different. Heavy but safe. An officer returned and spoke to her quietly. He asked a few questions. Simple ones. Her answers were short and clear. Before leaving, he paused. You have training, he said. She met his eyes. Yes. That was all. As the emergency lights faded and normal lighting returned, the hospital slowly found its rhythm again. The night nurse picked up a fallen chair and placed it back where it belonged. There was still work to do. The hospital did not return to normal right away. Even after the man was taken away and the hallways were cleared, Something lingered in the air. People spoke softer. Movements were slower. Everyone seemed to feel the weight of what could have happened. The night nurse moved through the ward as she always had. She checked patients one by one, listening to their breathing, adjusting blankets, offering quiet reassurance. Many of them were awake now. Some were crying. Some stared at the ceiling, shaken but alive. "You're safe," she told them, again and again. And this time, the words meant more. Other nurses gathered near the station, whispering. They watched her when they thought she wasn't looking. There was a new look in their eyes. Respect mixed with disbelief. One of them finally spoke. "How did you stay so calm?" The night nurse paused, then shrugged lightly. "Someone had to." That was all she said. Security finished their checks. Officers moved in and out, taking notes, asking short questions. They did not treat her like an ordinary witness. There was a quiet understanding in the way they spoke to her, in the way they waited for her answers. One officer returned later. Alone, he stood beside the nurse's station and lowered his voice. "You served," he said. She looked up at him. Her expression did not change. "A long time ago." "What unit?" She hesitated, just for a second, then she shook her head. "That part doesn't matter anymore." He studied her face, then nodded. He understood boundaries. "You did good work tonight." "So, did everyone else," she replied. When he left, she returned to her tasks without pause. By early morning, the sky outside the hospital windows began to lighten. The long night was ending. The hardest part was over. Patients started asking questions. Families were called. Explanations were given carefully, without details that would cause fear. The hospital focused on healing, not the danger that had passed. The night nurse helped the patient sit up and sip water. The patient held her hand tightly. "I was so scared," the patient said. "I know," the nurse replied. "You did well." As dawn arrived, the day shift nurses began to appear. They walked into a ward that felt different from the one they had left the night before. Whispers followed them too. "She stopped it. She saved everyone. Did you see how she moved?" The night nurse finished her final checks and signed her paperwork. Her hands were steady. Her writing was neat. Before she left, the head nurse asked to speak with her privately. The office door closed softly behind them. "I've worked here a long time," the head nurse said. "I've never seen anything like that." The night nurse listened quietly. "If you want to talk," the head nurse continued, "or take some time off." "I'm okay," the night nurse said gently. The head nurse nodded. "I believe you." As she walked out of the hospital, the morning air felt cool against her skin. The city was waking up. People hurried past, unaware of what happened while they slept. She paused for a moment outside the doors and looked back at the building. Just another hospital to most people, a place of routine and care. She did not feel like a hero. She felt tired. Later that day, news spread quietly among staff. Someone had looked up her background. Someone else had asked the right question. The truth surfaced, piece by piece. She had once served as an army ranger. The revelation shocked many. They replayed the night in their minds and suddenly understood the way she moved, the calm in her voice, the choices she made. But she did not confirm the stories. She did not deny them either. When she returned for her next shift, nothing about her had changed. Same uniform, same quiet walk, same calm presence. Some people tried to thank her. Some tried to ask questions. She accepted the thanks politely and avoided the questions. One nurse finally said what many were thinking. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" The night nurse considered this. Then she answered honestly. "Because this job is about care," she said, "not my past." The hospital returned to its routine. New patients arrived. New nights passed. But those who were there would never forget. They remembered how, in the darkest hours, when fear filled the halls, someone ordinary stepped forward, not for praise, not for attention, but because it was the right thing to do. And every night after that, when the lights dimmed and the ward grew quiet, they felt a little safer knowing she was there,